Opa had objected when Irene had wanted to do away with it, but she'd insisted. "I can do it, Opa, and the audience will love the danger." Reluctantly, he had agreed, but he'd always been poised in the shadows just below her, ready to rush forward and catch her if something went wrong. After his death, her father stood under the wire. That's where he was now, watching her routine closely. He'd taken over the circus after Opa's death, and as the ringmaster, he was in charge of every act. Irene knew that Mama also watched every show from behind the curtain. Her mother was in charge of the horses. She had once been a gifted equestrian performing with the circus. Lately, she'd passed those responsibilities to the younger performers. Still, she always stayed backstage, supervising it all and keeping one eye on her daughter. She was also a talented seamstress who designed and sewed many of the circus costumes, including Irene's. Applause reached Irene's ears, mixed with others hushing as if they were worried that the noise might make Irene stumble. She smiled and was just about to pivot again when a voice rang out from the audience. It wasn't the appreciation she usually received from the crowd. It sounded as if someone was booing. "That's not possible," Irene thought, freezing on the wire. There was silence under the big tent, and Irene stood perfectly still, waiting to hear if the sound came back. Still silence. No, she finally thought. She must have heard wrong. She shook her head slightly, clearing the incident from her mind. She was about to take another step when a man shouted out from the audience. This time there was no mistaking his words. They made Irene's blood run cold. "Jews, out of here! We don't want you anymore!" His voice was joined by a second one, this time a woman's, even louder than the first. "Close the circus! Get rid of the Jews!" Other members of the audience gasped, followed by a smattering of applause mixed with more hushing noises. Her vision blurred. Her body went stiff. All her focus and control vanished. She wobbled on the rope, feeling it quiver under her feet. But this time the shaking was for real. Irene abandoned her routine and headed blindly to the side of the ring. Chapter 2. Irene didn't know how she had managed to make it down the ladder from the high wire. The applause, when she reached the ground, now sounded false to her ears, as if the audience were forcing themselves to clap. Irene could barely take her bows. All she wanted was to rush from the ring and into the arms of her parents. "I sent Charlie out to see who shouted." Papa's face was dark when Irene reached him. He pointed toward Charlie, standing close by, dressed as a clown. Charlie's face was painted a ghostly white with black lines around his eyes and mouth. The lines turned downward as if he was sad and pouting. He wore oversized checkered trousers with bright blue suspenders. A big red ball was glued to his nose, and he had a ridiculously small straw hat perched atop his head, the kind of hat that should have been on a child's doll, not a young man. Charlie shook his head. "Whoever they were didn't show themselves, or maybe they'd left by the time I got there." "Cowards," Papa replied. Charlie nodded. "I'll catch them if it ever happens again." Mama stood with her head down, not saying a word. Irene couldn't read her expression. Irene's mother was usually so calm and unruffled, but this had unnerved even her. Irene shuddered. The truth was, this wasn't the first time there had been hecklers in the audience of their circus. It was only 2 months since Germany had invaded Poland, plunging Europe into a war. Their country's leader, Adolf Hitler, had promised the citizens of Germany great prosperity if they followed him and obeyed his commands. Many believed him, cheering him at rallies and echoing everything he said. Most didn't care that the fallout of Hitler's actions would mean the downfall of other German citizens, particularly the Jews here as well as in other European countries. Hate and restrictions toward Jews were growing. So far, the circus had remained untouched by the laws that forbade Jews to own property and run businesses. Papa thought the family and the circus were protected because even though Mom